Hey, everybody. Welcome to verifiedinvesting.com. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here. In today's video, we're going to look at the major buy signals that the IWM or Russell 2000 is sending out. All right. So some big signals here, both from a technical perspective and also understanding the technical side of the 10-year yield that's reiterating the buy signal. Let's dive right into the charts. No delay, no BS, just charts here at Verified Investing. So what do we have? The Russell again just consolidating back down after this big surge. In general, on a shorter time frame, when you get a big move up and consolidation, that's usually the beginnings of another move to the upside, right? We understand that to be what we call an in spirit of bull flag. So that's the near term price setup. But take a look at this. If we look at the longer term setup, taking the high going back to November of 2024. Now, November 2024 was a slightly higher high than the double top high from November. So again, we're taking a very significant high pivot here. And if we take that trend line and we drag it down, lo and behold, look at what we get here. We have a breakout of this trend line. Look at it, closes here, confirms the breakout. And then what do we call this? Retrace to the scene of the crime. And this is usually the starting point for a move to the upside. All right. So again, beautiful longer term setup on the Russell. Now, another factor here that has me somewhat excited about this potential long trade on the Russell and the small caps is that if you look at this chart, it is nothing even close to what the S&P or the NASDAQ looks like. Like, again, if you look at the NASDAQ, it's bottom left, upper right, right? Just continual grind higher. If you look at the Russell had this big move from 2020, the COVID lows up. And then since then, it's literally done nothing while the S&P and the NASDAQ have gone higher. Now, if you look at valuation metrics, data here, what we know is that the amount of overall market cap that has been added between the large cap tech is now at an epic level compared to small caps. And in fact, unprecedented in history. In other words, there's a catch-up trade here in the micro caps, the small cap trading opportunities of the Russell. In addition, check this out. NVIDIA alone is a $4.5 trillion company. The entire Russell, so all 2,000 companies in the entire Russell, only $3 trillion. So one stock is over 1.5, basically 1.5 trillion more than the entire Russell 2000. And again, history shows us that this is not normal. And again, it could mean that the large caps pull back. This is what I think. I think the large caps are probably topping out. As they pull back, you'll see money flow go into Russell, the Russell 2000, and that should break up. And I actually think you have a good shot of making a new all-time high. Now, to reiterate that point and get even more into a deep dive, look at the 10-year yield. So we know is that when rates fall, meaning the 10-year yield, interest rates go down, then what do we know about small caps? Small caps perform better in low interest rate environments. Well, we're just at a point where we could be seeing rate cuts in the remainder of the year. And to reiterate that from a data point or a chart point, this is a breakdown on the 10-year of a wedge pattern and then bearish consolidation. In other words, this chart tells us that while you could go up maybe to this line, inevitably we should see rates coming down, and that would be bullish for small caps. Remember, why do small caps thrive under small, essentially low rates? Because small caps, notoriously, they're not profitable companies, right? And so they have to borrow money. And if they can borrow money cheaper, then that is much better for a small company because, again, they're paying less interest versus a mega cap like NVIDIA that's printing money left and right. They don't really need to borrow money. So they don't need low rates. They could have high rates. They're not borrowing money anyways, right? And so I think that's an important point to understand. So all of this combined here, this data to me is telling me that the Russell is getting ready to have a big move to the upside. And again, I don't think necessarily the S&P and the NASDAQ will see the same result. I think this is a catch-up trade in the Russell, the IWM. All right, I hope you found this useful, guys. As always, I love doing these deep dives on my channel here on YouTube with Verified Investing. And again, the idea is to bring you guys knowledge, education, and actionable information so that you guys can make your own decisions and you have the information that I've given you. Have a great one as always, folks. Take care.